2012 was the year the music industry lost one of its biggest icons yet, the goat with the throat. Whitney Houston was found unresponsive in a Beverly Hilton bathtub, submerged underwater, and her death had been ruled an accidental drowning. Eerily, and similarly enough, her own daughter shared with ex-husband Bobbi Bobbi Kristina, had been found unresponsive in the exact same manner as her mother and was pronounced dead in July of 2015. Majority thought the incidents were way too much of a coincidence for there to not be something fishy lying beneath the surface. Nick Gordon, Bobbi Kristina's fiancé, being pinned as a prime suspect in connection with both Bobbi and Whitney's deaths. The death of Bobby Brown's son, Bobby Brown Jr., didn't soothe the suspicions, but it did raise questions about Nick Gordon's involvement. Did Nick have something to do with the deaths of Whitney and Bobbi Kristina, or is there something much more sinister happening behind the scenes in connection to no other than Bobby Brown himself? "I want that Whitney and Bobby love" was a phrase which had originated as a satirical meme dated back to the 90s, but has become even more prevalent in the early 2000s. Their sexed-up, drug-fueled, and volatile romance would last for 14 years, till Whitney decided to pull the plug on their relationship in 2006. Years of hardcore love and a bond held together by fame, abuse, and a lengthy list of illegal narcotics resulted in the birth of their daughter, Bobbi Kristina Brown, in 1993. Whitney and Bobbi's reign as a couple came with a lot of baggage. Besides Whitney being one of the best vocalists of all time, and Bobby being known for his wild days in his group New Edition, as well as a successful solo career, in between the wild get-togethers and laughter was a disturbing dark secret that wasn't so much of a secret since the majority had already suspected the expected. Drugs crept, or should I say, dashed their way into their relationship. A strong cocktail of cocaine, Mary Jane, Xanax, and a multitude of other substances of choice were often introduced to the party of Bobbi and Whitney's union. And unfortunately, these same substances will result in the sudden passing of Whitney Houston in February of 2012, 30 years after their wedding date and only 5 years after their finalized divorce. The Beverly Hilton Hotel Room 434 would be infamously known forever as the suite Whitney was in when she died on that tragic night, lying submerged in a semi-filled bathtub, unresponsive. What was even more tragic were the festivities taking place just below the suite. While complete mayhem unfolded upstairs, Bobbi Kristina herself present on the scene, indulging in complete hysteria. A pre-Grammys party hosted by the man who discovered Whitney all those years ago, Clive Davis, was occurring. The world was devastated at the news of Whitney's passing. Nevertheless, no one ignored the bizarre circumstances surrounding the freak accident. Detectives listed Whitney's death as being caused by an accidental drowning and labeled heart disease as a contributing factor. But the amount of cocaine found in her system via autopsy answered everyone's questions. Whitney wasn't here to bless us with her vocals any longer, and no one was taking this harder than her daughter Bobbi Kristina. Kim Burrell, a good friend of Whitney, recalls Bobbi being absolutely hysterical on that night of February 11th. Bobbi had been in the Beverly Hilton that night as well, along with a couple of others, including then-boyfriend Nick Gordon, and after that night, Bobbi was never the same. Singing may not have been a talent she'd pick up from her iconic mama. Quite the unfortunate contrary. Drugs had surrounded Bobbi Kristina since she was a small child. If she wasn't witnessing those around her engaging in sniffing up the booger sugar, then her own parents unintentionally exposed her to their daily bad habits. On top of witnessing her parents' abuse toward each other, both verbally and physically, it came to no surprise that family and friends discovered Bobbi Kristina's drug usage, which only escalated after her mother's death. Her boyfriend, Nick Gordon, would go from boyfriend to fiancé after Whitney's death as well, popping the question to Bobbi during her time of need. But even before all of that, he was known as her friend. Childhood friends introduced through a mutual friend and Nick's brother. Nick got the boot from his own mother, who had enough of his antics and decided to kick him out at the age of just 12 years old. Bobbi Kristina, being a good friend of Nick's at the time, took the matter to her mama, who agreed to allow Nick to kick it with them for the meanwhile. That friendship over time grew into play cousins, and as Bobbi and Nick aged into their teen years, drugs had entered the situation, but not on Nick's behalf. Photos of a then 16-year-old Bobbi Kristina snorting cocaine began circulating, and it'd be this moment that the general public had been aware of Bobbi Kristina's drug usage, including her father, Bobby Brown, who'd aid in getting her the help she needed by sending her to rehab. Bobbi Kristina and Nick's relationship stayed at a friendship level, with Bobbi dating someone else at the time, but the two grew closer as the years went on, Nick being utilized as Bobbi's security blanket following Whitney's passing. That's why when Nick was deemed a prime suspect after news broke of Bobbi Kristina being found unresponsive in a bathtub at her Georgia home, folks were having a difficult time soaking in the information. Discovered by a friend of Nick's, Bobbi Kristina had reportedly been face down in the bathtub and given CPR by Nick, who claimed to have seen her cough up water. But by that point, it had been a little too late. Bobbi slipped into a 6-month coma, but unfortunately never recovered. She was pronounced deceased on July 26 in 2015, and the cause of death was ruled to be lobar pneumonia due to a mixed drug intoxication that resulted in her drowning. News of Bobbi Kristina's passing shocked everyone it had reached, and it didn't take long for the conspiracy theories to roll out, making a connection between Whitney Houston's death and the death of her only daughter, Bobbi Kristina. The two had died in such similar tragedies that even ex-husband and father Bobby Brown noticed the eerie connections, drugs being one and Nick Gordon being the other. In between his visitations to Bobbi Kristina's unit, where she had been lying helplessly in a coma, he had begun racking up lawyers and lawsuits designated to Nick, since he had been there to witness the aftermaths of both Whitney and Bobbi Kristina's deaths. Emotions were higher than Nick was during his exclusive Dr. Phil interview, where he attempted to prove his innocence, serving a rehab stint gifted by Dr. Phil himself. And Bobbi hit Bobbi Kristina's fiancé with a $10 million civil suit, which the judge nearly quadrupled, resulting in a $36 million suit Nick was ordered to pay to Bobbi Kristina's estate. In conjunction with being hit with a hefty legal suit, reports had come out of Nick allegedly hitting Bobbi Kristina on more than one occasion. The two were even seen engaging in a heated argument the day Bobbi Kristina was found unresponsive. In his account, Nick had been at a bar with friends when Bobbi Kristina summoned him home around 4 a.m., where an argument ensued. Shortly after, they kissed and made up and went their separate ways to different parts of the house. Nick tending to gaming with his boys, and Bobbi Kristina tending to the bathtub. It had been Nick's friend, Max Lomas, who had allegedly discovered Bobbi the next morning. On top of Nick being in proximity to Bobbi's ex-wife and daughter's deaths, Bobbi believed that Nick had been Whitney and Bobbi Kristina's provider of what he calls party favors, gifting them the troubled illegal substances whenever they desired. He even believes that Nick, Whitney, and Kristina would often get high together, Nick offering drugs in exchange for a place to stay, as well as a thank you to Whitney for being his second mother in his time of need. Nick was now being held legally responsible for the death of Bobbi Kristina, but this didn't ease Bobbi's regrets. Serving a rehab stint himself, he had always been suspicious of Nick Gordon, not knowing him well enough to come to a solid conclusion about his character, due to Bobbi Kristina living with her mother after Whitney was given sole custody following her and Bobbi's divorce. Expressing his sorrows, Bobbi desperately wanted to confront Nick after reports of physical abuse came to play, but wasn't able to do so, overall regretting not being involved in Chrissy's life like he probably should have after Whitney's passing. It wasn't just Bobbi who didn't like Nick Gordon either. Many of the Houstons weren't in support of Bobbi Kristina's relationship. Her own grandma, Whitney Houston, writing an open letter in 2013 begging her granddaughter not to marry her troubled fiancé. All fingers were pointed at Nick, but doubts were brought into question when Nick confessed during a 2016 interview with the Daily Mail that this wasn't his fiancé's first run-in with death. Before the night of Whitney's death, Bobbi Kristina nearly drowned in the same exact way in the same exact hotel. This time, it was Whitney who found Bobbi submerged underwater, the overflow leaking out into the suite's hallway. Whitney was so shaken up that she slept in Bobbi's bed that night. Law enforcement seemingly backed up Nick's statement, disclosing to TMZ that she had been drunk and unruly at the hotel's bar and later drew a bath, but fell asleep while intoxicated. The gas was eased up even more off of Nick when it had been discovered that Bobbi's third eldest child, son Bobby Brown Jr., who he shares with ex-Kim Ward, was found deceased at his home on November 18th in 2020 due to a lethal combination of alcohol, cocaine, and fentanyl. In only 8 years, 2 of Bobby Brown's children were gone, along with his beloved ex-wife Whitney Houston. A triple tragedy was taking its toll on him, and he tried everything he could to suppress such intense emotions. Fitting a face to the possible crimes was a decompressor, Nick Gordon unfortunately having all aims targeted at him, including fans of both Bobbi and Whitney. The weight of the entire Houston fam on his neck, the media's bombarding questions, and being known as the reason for why one of music's biggest icons, along with her daughter, are no longer with us would truly take its toll on anyone. That's why when Nick Gordon was pronounced dead due to an accidental heroin overdose on January 1st of 2020, not too many people were surprised. Whitney, Bobbi Kristina, Bobby Brown Jr., Nick Gordon, along with the man that discovered Bobbi Kristina in the tub, Max Lomas, who'd OD'd on fentanyl, as well as other friends of Kristina's, Chelsea Bennett and Shelby Darrington, were all dead due to illegal narcotics. Is there a curse overshadowing Bobbi Brown's life? Maybe not so much as there is a curse surrounding the disease of addiction and the obtainable reach to grasp its deadly substances. Do you believe Nick Gordon had something to do with Whitney and Bobbi Kristina's passing? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.